Hi there, my name is Jake Miller, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to make a digital portfolio using the new Google Sites. If you're watching this video, you are either a teacher preparing to do this with your students, or you're a student who's been instructed to do this by your teacher. Either way, this video will work for you, and I'll walk you through the process. Now, there's a couple different ways to start, and one, the easiest of which I believe, is starting from within your Google Drive. If you already have a folder for your class that you're creating the digital portfolio in, say in this situation we're doing a writing digital portfolio, so if I already have a folder for the class that's shared with the teacher, that is the ideal spot to start from. So go into your folder for the class, your writing folder. If this is not your plan, you'll want to talk to your teacher, or if you are the teacher, tell your students where you'd like them to do this. But new Google Sites also reside in their Google Drive, so they're easier to find. So starting in the Google Drive and in the folder you want it in is a nice way to start. So I'm going to start from within my writing folder and click on New, and then More, and then Google Sites. And it'll open up a brand new Google site for me. Now, alternatively, the other way to do this, there's two other ways. One would have been to type into the address bar sites.google.com, and then down the left side you click on where it says New Google Sites. And once you're there, you click the plus in the bottom right hand corner to create the site. Alternatively, you could have gone directly to this page by going to sites.google.com/new, hitting enter, and it would bring you directly to this page, and again hit the plus button down in the bottom right corner to create your site. Now right here you see this untitled site is the one I just created from within my Google Drive, so I don't need to click the plus to create one. I can just close this tab and jump back over to it. At this point in time, you're going to talk to your teacher about how they would like you to name your site. I am guessing it would be something like last name, comma, first name, writing digital portfolio. Okay. Now, there's three different titles you see here. One is the title of the site for organizational purposes. That's what you'll see, say, in your Google Drive and on that sites page. The other is for appearance purposes. So you could actually take the last name, first name part out of this part right here if you want to, and it won't show up on your page anymore. But still the file is named last name, first name, writing digital portfolio. This formatting is totally up to you and your teacher, so please make sure if you're a student watching this that you know how your teacher would like you to name this, and if they want the same thing up here as down here. It seems to me no harm to leave them both the same, last name, comma, first name, writing digital portfolio. And then you have your page title. This is the title for the first and main home page of your site. So I'm just going to name mine home page. Okay. You can make some decisions here if you'd like to about what you'd like your header of your page to look like. So first of all, do you want it to be a banner like it is here, a large banner, or just the title? I normally go with the home page being just a banner. Totally up to you though. And also if you want to change the image there. So you see you can upload or select an image that Google has provided to you or from within your Google Drive. So I'll switch and do this one here. Obviously, if you're a student doing this, you want to make sure that whatever you're changing here is okay with your teacher. So please check with them first before making any changes to the appearance here. Okay. Notice that you can modify the image by clicking on this adjustment here. So it is adjusted and made my text black instead of white to make it a little more readable. But I can undo that if I would like to. Also, you can jump next over to themes. By default, you're on the simple theme, and it has the bluish colored text selected. You could switch to a different one unless, of course, your teacher asks you not to. And as you can see, there's a theme, and then underneath each theme is a color, and then along with that is font style. There's three different options. I'm going to leave mine on the default, which is simple, navy blue, and the light font. Okay, and I'm going to jump back over onto Insert. Now on Insert, I am going to guess, and your teacher will tell you if they'd like you to change it, they're going to have you put a text box. So under Insert, you're going to click on text box, and a text box will pop up at the top of your page. And you're going to provide some kind of introduction of what this page is here. So I'm going to make one up. Okay, and maybe that's all that you have on your home page, because we want each assignment to be on a separate page. Assuming that you're making a writing digital portfolio, which is what the intent of this video is for, you want each assignment to be on a separate page because there will be multiple artifacts that go with each page. So once your home page is ready, of course, if your teacher wants you to add other things here, you can. Note that this text box can be moved over and made, a certain portion of the page. You could change the text style if you want to. You could add images over next to it and things like that. It's very intuitive, easy to do, so I recommend you explore if your teacher wants you to personalize it in any way. Once your home page is done, you're going to click on Pages over here on the top right, and you'll see currently you have one page, which is the home page, and you're going to click the plus button down here. Okay, and this new page we're going to add is for your first assignment. Okay, so I'm going to call it assignment number 1. If you're a student viewing this, you will turn to your teacher, and your teacher will tell you what to title that first page. Or maybe at this point, they don't want you to title it at all. Okay, and now that page is listed underneath Home. So you can see along the top of the screen now you have Home is a link, assignment number 1 is also a link. So as you add more assignments, they will list across this top area here. If you end up with more than a few and they run out of room, it'll become a menu that you have to click on, and then you'll see them all drop down underneath that. Okay? And then on this page for assignment 1, I could choose again. Maybe because it's not the home page, I just want the title at the top. I don't want the banner. Maybe I want the giant banner, but I'm going to go with title only. Seems like it's what makes sense here. Now, one thing we do want to make sure we do before I move on is click on the Editors button up here and make sure that your teacher has access to your page. Okay? By putting it into that folder that's already shared with your teacher, if you did that in Google Drive, they should already have access, so you should see them here. If you didn't create it within a folder that your teacher already has access to, you should share the page with them now so they have access to it. Of course, if your teacher has a different strategy for how they want these submitted to them, maybe, for example, through Google Classroom or something like that, by all means, talk to them about how they'd like that done. But you share these just the way you share a Google Doc for the most part. Currently, I should note, this is a web page, but currently it's not published, so nobody can see it except for you and anybody you share it with, which may be the way you leave this page completely, and that'll be up to the discretion of you and your teacher. Your teacher will talk to you about that. If this really is just a place for you to post your stuff and your teacher to view it, then you're never going to actually publish it for other people to see. You're just going to add your teacher as an editor. If at some point in time this is something that your parents and other people are going to be viewing, then you will use the publish option to make that accessible. Okay? Underneath assignment number 1, let's start to put in some content here. Okay, so click back on Insert, and you can see we've already talked about inserting a text box. Now notice below that we can insert things from Google Drive, and in particular below there, we can insert docs. So I am going to insert a doc, and you'll see it'll open up a menu of all my docs in here. And the doc in particular that I want, I believe, is called Brainstorm. So I'm going to search for it. Here it is, my brainstorming doc. Once I click on it, I can either click Insert down at the bottom, or double click on it, or drag it right onto the page. Either option will work. No, actually that didn't work. I'll double click on it. There we go. Now once you've done that, you're going to choose the size of the page to make it, or the size of the doc to make it look the way you want it to look. Now notice you can't see the entire doc here. That's okay. If I click on the eyeball here for preview, I'll see that actually then I'm able to scroll down through the doc once it loads up here. Okay. So this is what mine looks like. If I want to show more of the page without having to scroll, then I'll need to make it taller. If I want to save some space on my page and make it a little more narrow, I could do that as well. So I click the X to go back to it. And let's say I want to make it a little more narrow. So I'll grab the end and I'll bring it in a little ways. And let's say I also want to make it taller. I'll pull it down like this. Okay? And now if I look at the preview, I'll see that it's over to the left and it's slightly taller. Okay? And again, click the X to go back to editing it. Now the last thing we want to talk about with this document is that only people that can see the document will be able to see it on the website. So for example, if your portfolio goes public, like if you want other people outside of your classroom to see this, or just the other students in your class, you're going to need to make sure that the same is true of the document that's inside of it. So if I click on this document and click this button right here to open in a new tab, the actual document itself will open up. And I want to make sure that I've shared it appropriately so the correct people are seeing it. My document, as you can see up here, is shared anyone with a link. So anybody that comes to my website will be able to see this document because I have made it anyone with a link. Okay, anyone with a link can view. If it's only to be seen by you and your teacher, you just want to make sure it's shared between you and your teacher. If it's only shared between you and your teacher and your parent, then you'll want to make sure you add your parent here. And if students in your class or in your group or that you work with for revisions are supposed to be able to see it as well, then by all means share it with them. Because if they come to the website, they won't be able to see the doc unless the doc is shared with them. So you need to make sure that you're sharing both the website and the doc appropriately. Okay. Now, one thing to note, and your teachers are aware of this as well, is over on the right here, there's this comment where I said yum about tacos, but on my website where you see the document, I'm going to go back to preview here, you don't see that yum over on the right there. That's because the actual comments don't appear on the website. You have to open up the doc to see them. So that is one thing to keep straight. Now the next thing I want to show you is how to add a text box to describe this document. So you might want to give some information about what this document is. So to do that, go ahead and click to add a text box, and then you have a decision. Do you want it to be underneath the document, or do you want it to be maybe next to it or above it? Totally up to you. If you want it to be above it, just grab it over here on the right or left side, pull it up over top of the document, and when you see that little blue line appear, drop it right in here. So you could say this is my brainstorming. Okay, and I have it above, I can move it below, whatever. I can also make it narrower. See, I make it like this, and then put it next to my actual document, just like that. Whatever your teacher asks you to do is fine. Maybe it makes more sense for it to be over on the left of it, so I could go over and pop it over here, oops, and drop it underneath it. And if you notice if you kind of drop it on the bottom of it, it becomes more like a caption to that document. So that's a great way to do it as well. Or I can move it over. I've got to separate it from it first. I got to separate it like that. Pull it away. There we go. Okay, pulled it away. Shrink it down. And then I'm going to move it up into the side of it. So however your teacher asks you to do it. Of course, you can also add a text box with a title text that says maybe brainstorming. And then put that up above both of those things. Okay? So include whatever your teacher asks you to include, but that's how to do it. Now, the rest of this assignment, as you go through it, will also be housed on this page. Not a separate page, but right here on this page. What's important is that if you're putting it in a separate document, you need to actually make a copy of this document to make your next stage of editing. So currently I have my brainstorming doc. If I start changing the brainstorming doc and writing in a text, and change it to, I'm just going to make a change here. Okay, and come back over here and view my page, it's no longer my brainstorming document. It now shows the change that I made to it, which I don't want it to show the change. I want it to be just my brainstorming doc, but unfortunately it shows the change. So what we have to do, instead of changing the brainstorming doc, is actually to make a copy of it. So you'll click File, make a copy, and give it a new name. So let's say this one's going to be First Draft. I'm going to click OK. And now notice it is a new document open in a new tab. So I'm going to close out the brainstorming doc, and in this doc, just for example's sake, I'm going to type in the word First Draft. Okay, and now I'm going to jump back over to my Writing Digital Portfolio, and underneath where my brainstorming document is, or whatever document you have first, maybe I'll add a text box, switch it to a title, and say First Draft. And then below that, I'm going to add a doc and find in my list here this First Draft, pop it right in there. Notice it looks different here. The change will happen, don't worry, when we preview it. Maybe I make it narrower, maybe I make it taller, okay? Maybe I add a text box next to it that says, this is my first draft, I worked really hard on this, whatever else you include there, and maybe you take this and put it next to that. Okay? And then if I look at it in the preview view, you'll see it's no longer that list of things. It now says First Draft. Okay, so now as you continue through this process, you and your teacher and anybody else who's a part of this process will be able to go to this specific page and visualize your entire process for assignment number 1. First you started with brainstorming and it looked like this. Then you did first draft and it looked like this. And then underneath that you did whatever the next step was and it looked like this. So that is the process you're going to go through as you put things on your digital portfolio. When you finish your first assignment and move on to a second assignment that you're posting, again a refresher, we'll click on Pages and click plus to add the next assignment and then follow through the same process. The last thing I want to point out is the Publish button up at the very top here. You don't want to press this button unless you're actually planning on having other people outside of you and your teacher see your site. So if this is just for between you and your teacher, or if you're the teacher watching us and this is just for between you and your students, you don't want to publish your site because they automatically go live. Okay? You can click it and then click cancel the first time. So as soon as you click publish to the web, it asks you what web address you want to associate with it. You could turn off the ability to have it appear in searches, but it's still public. It just means you can't search for so-and-so's digital portfolio and have it come up in a Google search. Okay, so you could request not to have it display in a search, but again, it's still public. So you do have to publish it if you want this to be viewed by a lot of different people, but if it's just between teacher and student, you don't need to publish. You could just use the collaboration by adding editors, and then the teacher will view it either from New Google Sites themselves or from in their Google Drive, whichever way is best for you. So that's it. You've now created a digital portfolio to show the writing process through a whole assignment. Your next step is just continue with the writing and then continue posting it here as your teacher asks you to do. Have a great day.